Hi, welcome to my channel Handmade in Marbella. My name's Jeanette. This is episode 12 of my Granny Square series. In this video I will show you how to make a different blanket with the same squares in the series. I'm using an Aran weight yarn and a 5mm and 6mm hook. The yarn I'm using is listed in the description below, along with a link where you can buy the yarn if you wish. This is an affiliate link, so if you purchase anything using this link I will earn a few cents, but you won't pay any extra. So the first thing you need to do is go back through all the episodes in this Granny Square series. The link to the playlist is in the description below, so you can find them easily. You need to make 2 each of every square in episodes 2 to 9, so you have 18 in total. If you want, you can just choose one square that you like or a few of the squares, as long as you end up with 18. Then join them together in 2 blocks of 9 using the method described in episode 10. So I've done both my blocks exactly the same, but you can place the squares however you like. I've also used the same colours as I did in the series, and I've put the colours and the amounts in the description. When you have your 2 panels, you then need to make 2 large granny squares the same size. So that's 21 rounds, so that you have 21 granny clusters across, the same as the panels. Now I recommend using a larger hook size for the granny squares, or they won't be as big as the panels. I used a 5mm hook for the panels and then a 6mm hook for the granny squares. The science behind that is because the joins in between the squares make the squares a little bit bigger, because every time you make a row around, it eats into the one below. But when you join them, it just makes it a little bit bigger because you don't do that. So you need to make the granny squares bigger to make them match the panels without adding extra rounds, or you won't have the same amount of granny clusters. Increasing the size of your hook makes up for the joins. So now we have 2 panels and 2 granny squares that need to be joined, and we're going to use the same method. So start by crocheting along 2 sides of one of the granny squares. So it's impossible to get this whole blanket in the camera, so I'll do my best to explain what's going on. So we have a panel here, a 9 square panel over here, and another 9 square panel over here. And then here and here is the 2 granny squares. So we're going to take this first granny square and we're going to start with the joining round, because we have to join all 4 together. So we're going to start at the top of this one, and we just start with a granny cluster. So I start with a standing treble, UK treble, and then just make a granny cluster in the first corner square, and then crochet all the way along, turn the corner, and then all the way across the bottom. So the first 2 sides. So this is the end of the second side. So we've just done a granny cluster in the corner to start the corner, but now instead of going around the corner, we're going to turn and go onto the other square, which is the top side of the panel. So just like we did with joining before, we're going to go into the corner of this square now. But we're going to omit the 2 chains that normally we would have done. We don't need the 2 chains. We need it to be tighter together because of the way we're going to do the border. So we do the granny cluster in the last square in the corner, and then we just go straight into doing a granny cluster, 3 trebles into the first corner here. So this is the way it is laid out in the blanket. This is the top right, and this is the bottom right. And then we're going to crochet all along here now, joining as we go, just the same as when we did the joins, join the squares together. So then we need to join to the top side there, and then carry on with the next treble cluster on the bottom square. You know how this goes now. And we keep going until we get to the join here, which of course is going to be a little bit different. So just get to the join and then join me back. So when we get to where the join is, we can't just do a normal treble cluster, because if we do it in the hole here, is just going to make this hole look bigger. And we don't want one in each of the two corner holes. So we're going to do a different kind of granny cluster. We're going to start off with one treble in the first corner, and then we're going to start the second treble, but don't finish it. Don't do the last yarn over and pull through. So we just leave 2 stitches on the hook. Then you go into the next corner and do the same thing again. So start the treble. So now you have 3 stitches on the hook, and then you finish by going through all 3. And then 1 more treble in that corner to finish. So we have here a little bit of a fatter treble, but it stops it getting loopy. And then also we don't end up with too many treble clusters, so that it makes the side of this square too big. And then we just go straight into the next space here to join, and then carry on as normal across the rest of the side. So what we need to do now is carry on joining these 2 sides together. When we've got to the corner, we need to crochet down this side and then crochet back up this side, joining together. It's still too big to get in the camera. And then we're going to bring in the 4th square at the top here. So instead of going round the edges like we did on the previous joins, what we're going to do, we start at the top of this side, we come down and across, then we come back this way, joining as we go, then we crochet down here, come back up this way, joining as we go, turn along this way, and then come back, joining as we go, and then finally joining up this edge till we get to the corner and stop. So we haven't done any of the outside edge, because we're going to do that with the border. So when you've done all that, we'll come back and then we'll start the border rows. So when you get all the way to the end and you meet back up with where you started, all you have to do is just slip stitch into the first treble that you made here. So now onto the border, and as there's quite a lot going on with this blanket, I thought a very simple border is what's needed. So this is literally just a 2-row border. So I'm going to show you, this is the one I'm going to demonstrate. But if you think you want a more substantial border, then you can repeat the second row as many times as you like. This is what it looks like with 4 rows in total. So the first foundation row, and then the second row repeated 2 more times, 3 times in total, so using all 4 of the colours of the blanket. So for the first row of the border, I'm going to use the same colours I used for all the joining of the squares. So it's the darkest colour of the colours I've used. So we're just going to start with a slip stitch on the hook, because we're going to start with a standing treble right in the corner, as if we were just going to start a new round of granny squares. So standing treble, and then 1 more treble in that first corner. Now instead of doing the treble clusters all the way along, we're actually going to do 1 treble in the top of every single treble that's here. So on the top of every granny cluster there will be 3 new trebles. So just into the loop that's at the top of the stitch. If you can see it on the camera, this space here. So we just do that all the way along. So just go up to the first. I've started on the panel that's got the squares. So when we get to this part here where the join is, I'll show you what to do. So when you get to the join, we do the treble in the last treble of the last granny cluster there. And then we're going to put one over here, will be the next proper one. So we've got a space in between, but we only really need 2 trebles in this space in between. So we do 1 in the last treble, do 1 in the space, the corner space, do another 1 in the next corner space, and then carry on then with 1 in each treble all the way along. So So you see that doesn't pull or anything. If you find it pulls, then maybe you need an extra stitch, and you can just put one in, maybe in the first space you can put 2 stitches. But if it's laying flat, then that's okay. When you get to where you've joined the large squares, then the corner is a little bit different. So the same again, we've put the treble, one in each of the trebles in the treble cluster, and then we're going to put trebles into the side of this one, because this one's sideways on, it's not a proper corner like we've had previously. So in the space just between the trebles, make 2 trebles. And then in the other one that's on the other side, the same again, in the space between the 2 trebles, put 2 more trebles. And then you can just carry on then with trebles in the top of every treble all the way along. So you need to do that all the way around till you get back to where you started. So when you've crocheted all the way around, you need 2 trebles in the final corner, and then we join to the top of the first treble with a half treble, and then we can cut the yarn and fasten off. So just to recap, that first round is 1 treble in every treble below, 2 trebles to start with in the corner. When you reach where you've joined the small squares together, we just need 1 treble in each corner space, unless you feel that it needs an extra stitch because it's pulling too much. But if it's flat, then 1 in each is enough. When you join the large squares, you need 2 trebles in the side of the end trebles, so just between the 2 trebles there, and then in the corners, 2 trebles, 2 chains, 2 trebles. So the next round we're going to do now, you can just do once like I'm going to do, or if you prefer to have a wider border, you can repeat it in different colours. You just do it exactly the same a few times until you have the width of the border you want. So we're going to start this round with a standing treble. So the slip stitch on your hook, make a standing treble in the corner, and then a normal treble, and then all the way around now we're going to do back post trebles. The stitch is exactly the same as a treble. The only thing that's different is the position of where you put it. You don't put it into the top of the stitch or in the space. You put it around the back of the post of the treble below. Sounds a bit complicated. Once you get the hang of it, it's not difficult. So yarn over, the hook through around the post, so you can see your hook goes all the way across the front. Yarn over, pull through, and then the treble as normal. Yarn over, put the hook through the space, out the other side, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, pull through 2. And then you can see where you've stitched around that post that you get the colour showing through. Yarn over, through, once you get the rhythm of it, it's quite easy. You just bend your work a little bit so you can see where you're going, and then just make a treble as normal. So we're going to do that all the way around. When you get to the corners, in the space, the corner space, you just do 2 normal trebles, 2 chains and 2 trebles like a normal corner, and then carry on again with the back post treble all the way along the edge. So when you get all the way around, you just need to put 2 trebles in the final corner and then join with a half treble. Cut your yarn and fasten off. Just sew in the ends, and that's your blanket finished, unless of course you want to make the border a little bit wider and add some more rows, exactly the same as we did with this row, with the cream row. Of course, instead you could use the border from episode 11 if you prefer. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If so, please like, subscribe and hit the notification button. This is free and helps my channel to grow, and also you'll be informed when the next video is released.